Welcome to Hangar 37. My name is John, and today we're going to do the build and review of the modifications on my Parkzone Sport Cub S2. Okay, we're going to assemble the wing here. We got the two halves and the carbon spar. And I'm going to use epoxy, 5-minute epoxy. So, got the spar in. Okay. Always have a rag with alcohol available to pick up any excess that comes off. And I am going to put the wing plate on just to keep it straight. I'm also going to use some tape. Keep it nice and straight. Okay. I'm going to let that set for about 5 minutes. Okay, I'm back. I glued the wing together, epoxied it. I also epoxied in the flap servo, and I've got it set up. Let's see how it looks.
Takeoff flaps. Landing flaps. Takeoff flaps. Landing flaps. Takeoff flaps.
Okay, it was a little tricky getting everything all lined up. Some adjustment on the clevises and also on the servo arm. I had to get it centered properly to get the full throws on the flaps.
Flaps up.
Okay, well that's it on the wing. My next project is going to be the lighting. That's my next project, is the wing lights and landing lights and everything on here. So I'm going to jump ahead, get all that wiring in. We'll go ahead and get all the lights on, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, I'm back. I got the basic wiring in on the wings. I got 8 lights. I got a big mess here underneath, which I will harness up, and I'll come back to you and show you the finished wing. Well, we finished up the wing and the wiring. There's quite a few wires. There's 8 lights on this wing. 8 wires coming through. So I harnessed them up and cut a groove so it wouldn't interfere with anything in the receiver compartment where the servos for the rudder and elevator are stored. Now I also drilled a hole in between the 2 mounting screws here, so I can slide those wires down without interfering with any of these servos. Now some of these wires here are coming from the front lights. Those I'll CA those down along the side here. So basically just going to insert these wires through that hole so that it comes down through come down through the bottom here, and then I'll mount my light control switches along the side walls here. And I might put a battery in here, or I might put a splitter and run it off the main 2200 mAh battery, or I might run it off the receiver. I'm going to try all the different combinations, see which works best. That's pretty much it on the lighting for the top wing. I'm going to take a break here and figure out the bottom part, and we'll get back to you in a bit. Well, we're back working on the fuselage wiring. We're getting pretty close to the assembly side of it. I mentioned to you earlier that I pulled a motor and put a new ESC in here. And down in there, it's a 30 amp with a 5 BEC. Now also, what I did is I put an extension here on the binding port on the receiver, so I don't have to pull the wing off every time I want to bind it or have to bind it. I suggest you consider that. You won't have to tear the wing off to do a bind on it. I also put a 5 LED landing light on here to light the ground part of it. I also have 4 landing lights on the wing. One of the things I did is I put some air vents in here. Used a 5/8 drill and just to get some air through there. I figured one of the problems is ESCs getting hot. And one of the things I seen on YouTube was that the cooling was a problem on this plane, because this was all closed off and really no air was able to get through there except this little hole on the side here, 2 little holes. So I'm hoping that with these that there will not be a heating problem on the ESC or any of the electrical components. Alright, this is the tinted window I talked about, the vinyl, and what I ended up doing is doing it all in one piece. I think it just looks better than those other decals that it came with. When the wing's on, I think you'll see it, how nice it looks. The landing gear. Okay, let's talk about the skis. A lot of work went into this. Basically, these are those cloth hair ponytail bands. I crossed them over from the top here and wrapped them around down here. Now these are Hobby King ski set, and I bought 2 of them because these are actually the small ones. Now what I did is I cut out some of it on here. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's not real close. To make it move properly and come up, if you see, they come up pretty even. And this is the bar I got. That's the Fly Zone float set hardware. And I cut this, and I've got another little hairband I pulled through with fishing wire, and I notched this knob on the side that the hairband touches so it wouldn't slide off. And as you can see, it does give some support, or it does give some shock absorbance to it. In snow, I don't think you're going to have to worry about it too much. I also used those Fly Zone Beaver float parts. I'm going to do a separate video maybe on this because it did get involved. I had to cut special lengths on it and reuse and re-drill the ends here. I cut these shorter, and then I reverse ovaled the tubing. And you can see that's a nice fit in there. And then they go up in here. I guess you can see all this. We'll find out how nice it works when I get it out on the snow. I'm going to go ahead and start assembling this. And if I get any requests, I'll do a video on these skis. I'll have to take it all apart and redo it and show it, but it's quite a bit of work, but I think it looks cool, and I think it's going to be effective. I can also, these struts will work with the wheels, and I'll use them in the spring. So I'm going to break away for a minute and get everything set up for the assembly, and I'll be back to you. One of the things I want to mention that is if you do change out your ESC, you're going to have to pull the motor. There's 4 screws there, and pull it out and change out the ESC. Just want to remind you to once you hook up the motor wires, to bind it and check that the motor's spinning in the proper direction. And if it's not, on a brushless motor, you have 3 wires, and all you have to do is reverse any 2 of them to reverse the motor. And one of the things I also do, not just on this plane, but any plane you change out an ESC, is to check the direction before you put it all back together. I use heat shrinks, and I will slide them over, cut them to length, and heat shrink them so that there's no chance of them coming apart once you put everything back together. It's kind of a bummer if you put everything back together and the motor's spinning the wrong way. You got to take it all apart again. Or if you have a loose connection, you can lose your motor in flight, and that could be very disastrous. So just a little reminder on that. One of the other things I'd like to mention is when you do have this motor out, check the back side of the motor mount and tighten those screws also. I found that one of them was not real loose, but about a quarter turn, and if they're loose, they eventually will cause you a problem. So being that the motor's out, and check all of that stuff, and you'll be better and safer in the long run. One of the things you might want to do is buy a bunch of heat shrinks. I bought a fishing tackle box, and I bought several different packs of different sizes of heat shrinks, and you can see there's some pretty large ones in there and some really small ones. You run into all kinds of sizes on all different types of wires that are going to be in your RC applications. This worked out real good, and I use it a lot, and I suggest that's something that anybody that's taking this hobby serious is to get a kit, put a kit together. It makes life a little easier for you. Okay, I'm back, and I'm going to try and thread the needle here with these wires and see if we can get this wing on. Okay, now if you can see this, slide them through there. Now before we put this together, we're going to have to connect I put a Y harness on the aux 1, It's channel 6 on the AR 636A, and that's actually the aux 1 channel, which will handle the flaps. So I'm going to take that, make sure that you've got the ground might be a good idea to tape the connectors, servo connectors, so they don't come loose. I use a 3/4 inch reinforced strapping tape. It's very sticky. I pre-cut 4 pieces at 1 1/4, which is the basic length of the connector. And I just tape them. Doesn't add any weight to the plane, but my experience tells me that even the seasoned veteran makes a mistake once in a while on putting the servos, connectors, and all that together. It's just a good practice. Takes a few minutes. It's kind of a cheap insurance policy. So that's pretty much it. Let's see. And then just press. And you got both sides. You don't have to tape it all the way around. This stuff sticks really well. And you want to make sure you contact all 3 surfaces. Okay, let's see if we can get this put together now. Alright. Okay, I'm back. We're going to put the attach the wing. And the manual says to use, out of packet C, a 3x12 machine screw for this. Okay, well, there she is in my bird nest of wires, which we will get in here somehow. We're getting there, slow but sure. So I'm going to take a break and I'll be back to you shortly.